Hello and welcome to episode 31 of the Time In podcast. Joined by Bundy this week. How you doing?
I'm alright, how are you?
I'm not too bad. And if you haven't noticed, Craig, and again if you're wondering who that is, Craig used to be a podcast host but he's had a few weeks off. So I like us all, we've all been busy. Craig should be back in the next couple of weeks, I believe, when his work eases up a little bit. This week is going to be a bit of a different one because we haven't got one topic. We've got a few smaller topics that we wanted to cover, a few almost questions, if you like, that it's things that we both wanted to discuss, but we didn't think we could fill a whole episode with. So we've got 5 mini topics to go through. Before we jump in, would you be able to give us a quick sponsor plug, Bundy?
I can indeed. And this week's sponsor plug, if you've been listening week on week, no two sponsor plugs are the same, right? And this week's is no different.
That's the magic of it.
Because it's now past Christmas. If you're listening to this, Christmas is done.
Oh,
right? I hope you got everything that you wanted and more. But if for some reason you didn't get Rogue Energy for your Christmas, there's a problem. So what do we do with that? We go on to www.rogueenergy.com and we put in the discount code TIMEINPODCAST for 10% off. Because listen, you're going to need it. I'm imagining you've got a lot of gaming related stuff, or if not, you're going back to work, you're going to need that energy. So,
I mean, if anybody's wondering how Santa manages to get round everyone in one night, Rogue Extreme.
Rogue Energy.
He uses the extreme one. Christmas Eve, he's on the hydration one, getting himself ready. Christmas Day, it's the extreme one. That's how he does it.
And supposedly, I don't know if this is true or not, but the reason that they're called elves, right, is because they basically have drank that much of the extreme Rogue Energy that they're almost inhuman in terms of performance, so they had to come up with elves. But discount code Time In Podcast, 10% off.
And Rogue, if you're listening, all these ads are free.
Take yourself into the new year with Rogue Energy.
That's it. So, this week, the first topic I wanted to mention, and it's kind of valid because we were discussing vaccines and different things that came about. Can you think of a technology that has only made the world worse and a technology that has only made the world better? Now, have you had to think about this during the day, Bundy?
Yes, I wish I didn't, but yes.
I'm the exact same as you, because in my head, there isn't a technology that's done either of these things. There's always a light side and a dark side. So the one, straight away, what I thought of a thing that had made the world worse was atomic bombs / nuclear bombs. Now, they're not good. They're weapons of mass destruction. They could kill lots of people. They have done in the past. However, what they have done, which is, you could argue is good, is sort of created a stalemate in that everybody has them, so nobody's fighting, because you know as soon as these go off, game over for everybody. So in a sense, they've almost stopped the war because the weapons have got that good.
True. I'm on the same wavelength as you, but slightly different. So I picked probably biological agents, right? And the reason being, we still need to produce nuclear energy in order to have these types of bombs and stuff. So if that ever was to stop, technically we're not going to have like as big a problem.
Yeah.
But right, things like anthrax, for example, right?
Aye.
The spores of anthrax are actually very easily found in nature. You can produce them in a lab. They last a long time in the environment. And at the same time, if somebody just decides to wake up and choose violence in the form of an anthrax attack, I don't see many people surviving. Same with sarin gas and stuff like that. And there is no there's no warning with a lot of them. You're just dead. That's it. That's you. You're alive and you're dead. And that's it. Whereas if you same with a nuke and stuff like that. I get that, right? But it can be a lot more controlled with a with like a pathogen compared to a nuke. Like you can't really just nuke like maybe like a 50-meter radius, but you can absolutely use biological weapons for it. So I went with that as the one that I would say probably isn't the greatest invention. But then, like you said, on the flip side of that, like if we hadn't been researching this stuff, like a lot of other discoveries might not have been made. Okay, I don't know that for sure because I've never looked into how to make anthrax or any of these biological weapons. But I can imagine the reason they came across them in the first place was studying other things.
Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting we've both picked sort of mass weapons, but in a way they have created a sort of peace because that people aren't using them, or we know to avoid them because of their properties. Somebody could have used one for the first time, caused mayhem without knowing what it could potentially do. And of course, the flip side of this argument is how about a piece of technology that has only made the world better? Now, I don't know about you, but I was holding my phone in my hand and I done it, and straight away I thought, well, it's not this fucking thing. Because the amount of problem, as convenient as it is, the amount of problems it causes are unbelievable. And what I decided was a technology that has only made the world better was automobiles. Now, the reason I say this is cars, for various reasons, vehicles could, for the services they provide, the convenience they provide, and the cult following that you've got for these various subcategories of car enthusiasts that have evolved through time fascinates me. I'm really into cars myself, and the more I thought that was a no-brainer, and then I thought about it as the day went on. I thought, well, people get into car accidents. I'm thinking more people would die not having transport or having a less safe form of transport. And then the other aspect of it is obviously the air quality and the emissions that are coming from them are dangerous. And when you've got areas like London where there's a smog, you could see how that's an issue. However, the overall benefit you get from automobiles, I'd say, outweighs that at the moment.
So I feel like difficult because, like, obviously, like that's like if you just take just cars as an answer, like 100%, right? But then you've got the whole global warming emissions and all that kind of stuff, right? Which obviously you'll know more about than me, but still, like, so I was thinking of these kind of answers, and I thought to myself, there has to be something that cannot be used, like, for evil of some sort, right? Like, that's basically my thinking. Well, and I think I got one. Right?
Really? Tamagotchi?
Worse. Not gonna. A water purification system.
Ah, that's good. That's good. Like the life straws, those kind of things.
Yeah, or even see like how you've got like the actual big, huge purification like places that will make water safe to drink and stuff like that. Like those, because I understand that they're like that. Like a lot of the places that use chemicals in order to do that, but obviously in the UK and Scotland especially, we actually have really good water purification systems which actually just filter out without the use of chemicals, which is why our drinking water is so good. But I was thinking to myself, like, realistically, because obviously you can even purify water by with certain like minerals and electricity and stuff like that, and technically, so a water purification system is probably what I'm going to answer it as, but I just think it would probably be a good thing because you can't purify water for it to kill someone unless you're going to use it to then drown them. Yeah. But at the same time, probably not, because why would you spend all that money when you just pour dirty water on them?
There's an interesting thing. I think it was at school in geography we learned this. Do you remember hearing that, you know, the system whereby you get water at the tap, you drink it, you pee, it goes through the sewage system, blah, blah, and back round the cycle. Like, when you drink water in Scotland, I think it's fresh water, generally. But when you're in the centre of London, when you drink it, it's been through the system 17 times or something on average. So when you drink water at the tap, in theory, 17 people before you have drank that and pissed it out, which testament to the filtration systems and treatment works, but to me, that's just quite bizarre.
The thing that I find really, really interesting is that not too far away from where we live, there's actually a natural spring that's at the side of a road that a lot of large goods vehicle drivers use to fill up their water bottle, and it comes direct from a spring underground, and you can drink it straight away.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Within walking distance from us?
Like, when you say walking, I'd say 5 minutes drive.
We need to talk about this later on.
I've wanted to try it for so long, like so long.
100% got to turn up and see a lorry driver washing his nuts in it or something. It's just a bidet, a natural bidet.
The thing is, it actually looks like one.
So one of the biggest things, the biggest topics of these small ones today was one that you could arguably squeeze an episode out of it, but we're going to quickfire it a bit. So there was this concept where you could talk about a TV show, movie, or a game that has either been cancelled, replaced, it's finished, or whatever, if it's run its course. For each of those three categories, which one would you bring back? And if so, what would you change, if there is anything you would change? So we'll start with TV shows, and well, actually for a few of these categories, I've felt that my answers have changed from what they were a few months ago. I think yours is probably the same, especially with the recent Star Wars announcements, Lord of the Rings TV show, a Game of Thrones prequel. All of these coming out are sort of addressing this, if you like. So what would have been some of my answers? Have you got one for a TV show?
I do.
Is it Game of Thrones?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's not. So basically, I decided that I was going to go for something that I feel would have to be redone completely. And I also went with a movie, but it's more of a trilogy.
Okay. So you would do it as a movie rather than a TV show?
Yes. And I would change it. I would actually not do a trilogy either. So the trilogy that I would change would not be a trilogy.
Okay.
I would probably have one, maybe two movies at most. And it would be the newest 3 Star Wars films.
Ah, right.
Because I feel like there's a lot of filler. And at the same time, a lot of things that just aren't the Star Wars that I know and love.
I mean, see, when you watch all the first 6, you could argue there's some parts that are fillers. However, they're either relevant to the story, they give you some sort of context about lore, or it's like a nod back to a different film or a different aspect of the world.
Mm-hmm. I think to myself, right, so people don't like the prequels. That's fine, right? That's absolutely fine. They're wrong, but they're fine.
I was going to say something along those lines exactly.
But like for me, the prequels done their job in terms of taking Anakin and turning them into Darth Vader, right? Mm-hmm. Now, people will argue that Hayden Christensen isn't a great actor and that he didn't do it well enough. And do you know what? Fair, that's cool. If that's your opinion, that's fine. I think he did it well in the form of it was very lost and misguided and very conflicted and very young. I think all of them are hard to convey, but I get the feeling a lot of that. And people might have just put it down to him just turning him bad, but I think it all started a long, long time before that. If you properly sit and watch something, you can kind of get a gist of when it starts to go wrong. Mm-hmm. Prequel memes obviously are like a thing, but I would honestly think that the reason there's so many memes and stuff like that is because the prequels done comedy value in movies before it was funny. Like the whole "hello there" for Obi-Wan when he jumps into General Grievous. That's like the same as like Tony Stark landing and saying hello to Thanos. Do you know what I mean? Like it's comedy, but in an action film. So I don't think there was issues with those, and I think we're approaching a point now where people should really go over that. But that would be mine because I would want them to go in the direction of the prequels, but I would absolutely, Jon Favreau, get on board, my man. You've been part of the MCU, and acting is happy. for Iron Man and stuff like that, and you are the one who has built the amazing series, 2 series now of The Mandalorian. No spoilers in this episode.
Nope.
So you come on board, Rian Johnson, you're never directing a Star Wars film ever again, you're banned, get Big John in here, get him sorted.
I think that's fair. If we're talking movies, I'll tell you my one, and I'm aware that I have 3 separate answers for 3 of the questions here that do involve vehicles of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
The movie I would, it's hard to say, bring back is the movie Rush, which was about the battle in F1 between 2 fascinating characters, and James Hunt and Niki Lauda, and their sort of battle for the F1. F1, I feel, has probably the most coverage out of any motorsport, and rightly so. It's a very fast sport, it's a high performance, very precise sport. My problem with it is I struggle to watch it for a long time because all the action happens in the first lap, that's it. You might as well walk away to the last lap. That being said, I think the same kind of movie covering a great motorsport battle, but maybe in a different type of motorsport. So personally, I love watching WRC. For me, that is just, yeah, you have to have a screw loose to do rally driving. That's just the fact of it. These guys are driving on the edge, on gravel a lot of the time, going round corners, sideways, taking off the ground. It's just, and a lot of the people are actually really capable mechanics as well. So a driving hero of mine, obviously, is Colin McRae. I think they could easily do a good movie on him, some of his rivalries, his challenges, his rise up to champion level. It is incredible. And similarly, you could do that with British Touring Car Championship, something I follow really closely. There's a number of names you could pluck out of that and do a really interesting movie, or even a documentary on it if you like. But I think that's crying out for it, because F1 gets so much coverage, WRC to some extent, but BTCC. In fact, there's what to make it on. In the WRC, there used to be a category called the Group B Rally. Now, all groups in rally have limitations on the amount of power a car can have.
Mm-hmm.
Group B Rally, that restriction was lifted, and they actually shut down the group after so many years because there was that many deaths in it. The cars were getting smaller and smaller and smaller, but more and more powerful, and these things were rockets. You would get like Peugeot 205s, you would get like little Metros and monster engines in them, and the speeds these were achieving were just unbelievable. And there was accidents with drivers or fans at the side of the road were getting killed, because in the rally a lot of the fans line the track, which is partly what makes it dangerous. I've never understood that myself. Somebody who's watched rally for this long, I just think they're driving right on the edge. A little lapse of judgment, a fail in the car or anything, and that's ploughing through crowds of people. But we'll leave it at that. TV show. Mine's is quite simple. I was going to say Game of Thrones, but we've mentioned that plenty of times in past episodes, so I think we agreed that Game of Thrones gets a pass.
Yep. 100%. Definitely.
We would probably change it anyway, but everybody knows that. A different one, something I've rewatched again recently. I would redo season 1 of The Witcher. Now, I'll tell you why I would redo it. I would keep the content exactly the same, but make the timeline linear.
I can agree with that, because I think that, especially if you've never, ever, ever played any of the Witcher games, then you're like, wait, what?
Yeah. I would almost be tempted to start on episode 2 if you see it now. But I watched it with my girlfriend who has no knowledge of The Witcher, and she said she would have found it more immersive had she not been spending so much time going back and forward trying to work out who was who and what was happening at the right time. Or if they time-stamped it and said this was this date, 10 days, or this was the collapse, this was 10 days before collapse, this was, or before Nilfgaard invaded, collapse, I'm still thinking of a game. Yeah, so I would make that linear, and I think that would make it more immersive. That being said, I know they've filmed season 2, or they were filming season 2. Don't know if they started.
Well, they were filming. COVID stop filming. COVID again, stop filming. Henry Cavill injured, stop filming. Filming again. That's where we're at.
Good. I did find it interesting because someone said to Henry Cavill in an interview, so is it important that you keep in shape, blah blah. He said it was like for Superman it made more sense, but for The Witcher it's obviously aesthetically you have to look a certain way, but he said it's actually for his own protection to prevent injury. He has to stay healthy because you're getting thrown around like downstairs against walls and stuff, so you need a bit of padding, which makes sense. I mean, he does a lot of the stunts, to be fair, and I find him fascinating as well. Just how much a geek he actually is. Did you know he actually missed the call from Zack Snyder to say he had been cast as Superman because he was playing World of Warcraft?
The guy's an absolute legend.
I rate that. So tell me about a TV show you would redo. Or you would bring back if it's like a series that's finished. If you ask me in a couple of months' time, I might say Vikings, but
I would probably redo. Oh God, there's so many that I want to redo, but I would probably redo. Prison Break. I'm going to go with Prison Break because as much as I love Prison Break, like it just got a bit ridiculous. Same way because it was a toss up between that and The Walking Dead. Walking Dead was absolute. No. That deserves to be there so we can have a benchmark for every TV series and never end by. It was between that and The Walking Dead because they both were very similar in the fact that they're both really, really good. But then, as the seasons progressed, it got a bit ridiculous, and it's kind of just like I enjoyed it because it was still very real. It was like possible, but out there, if you know what I mean. Like the zombie apocalypse, not really possible, right? So somebody tattooing prison, like the whole prison system onto their body, not really going to happen, right? And then like hiding his identity and all that. But it was thrilling. It was enticing. It was like believable enough to where it made you say, "Oh, if I ever got put in prison, I'd do it." Like, do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, and the characters were also really good. But as it got more and more seasons, it was like, right, how do we one up it? And sometimes you don't need to one up it. Sometimes you just need to expand. And this is my biggest thing for anything at all, is don't just one up. Expand, because if we have something like Game of Thrones, right, there's things that they've done really, really well, which in terms of like the first few seasons was like the build up of like Jon Snow and how he's his glow up, if you want to call it that, and then there's things that they didn't do really well, which was things like what actually happened to Robert Baratheon in his younger days. Like, and we all know he was a beast, but I know how much of a beast he was because I read the books. And it would have been cool, even just for him to be talking, and him and Ned or something, and then a flashback, and it's like the battle. Similar to Lord of the Rings, where you go back and you see like Sauron fighting against the elves and the men and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That
just would have been cool.
See, when you've got these worlds like, well, the two I mentioned before we done this section, when you've got huge worlds created by the likes of Tolkien, like when you're talking about Middle Earth and Lord of the Rings, I'm so glad there's going to be a TV series that's going to cover some more of that world. Similarly, when I heard about the Game of Thrones prequel series, I thought, oh good, maybe that'll cover a bit more of this. Maybe we'll see some overlap. I'm quite interested in that, so I'm keeping a close eye on the cast for both of those, and those two shows probably, or the show and movie, would have been in this list for me if they hadn't already announced that.
I just think like they still get a pass for me, whereas I completely stopped watching The Walking Dead and Prison Break. So for it would probably be I've got probably at this point as a draw between both of them that I'd redo, and I wouldn't even redo it in them. I wouldn't like. The only thing I'd really do to them is instead of getting more ridiculous, just expand on it a wee bit. Just instead of having like actually see them in The Walking Dead kind of build to something, and then maybe have like something happen where they are forced to move, maybe because it's like they find that there's actually something that is causing this, and it's kind of like spreading to them or whatever, so they have to move. It's not that the zombies are forcing them out because they need to adapt to daily life, and then have it so maybe that they then decide that, you know what, instead of settling down and just bringing children into the world into this, let's go and deal with it so that they don't have to. That would have been a really cool thing for me.
Yeah.
Prison Break, let's not have Michael die then not die, and then turn into basically the greatest Secret Service agent MD's ever seen. Let's just have him be a normal guy that breaks his brother out of prison and then
Just
gets
a normal
recruited.
guy.
Instead of him getting recruited to go and break other people out of prison and all that kind of stuff, let's just have him. Let's have him be caught and put in prison, and then the other people that he's made ties with along the way have to break him out. Let's not introduce the CIA and the fucking president and all that shit.
That's fair. Well, the last category, now, I struggled with this when I was thinking about the same thing, but for a game. And there was only two I could think of. There weren't any big names, because I feel like all the big name games that have sort of run their course have done quite well. And there's probably not anything I would change or bring back about them. That being said, I would bring back Halo 3, and the only change I would make was the player population. I would want that to be huge. And I think that's a simple enough one. If that doesn't really count as a thing to change, then I would bring back... Do you remember Cell Damage Overdrive?
Yes.
What a game. It was a cartoony game where you drove around cars with different characters. You would pick up weapons on the map that would attach to your car, whether it was a chain gun, a chainsaw, a baseball bat, a laser gun. Some of the things were hilarious, but it was almost like a mini battle royale, and you had to get as many kills as you could on other cars. It was great fun, but it was PS2 it was out for. I think you can get it on the Xbox and PS5 these days, but I would put multiplayer in that because you were just playing against the computer. But I think that's got good potential.
I really struggled with this one, right? Because I think a game like Cell Damage Overdrive's an absolute shout, because it would be really, really good, right? And it would be really, really fun. And it's one of the games that you can go back to for quite some time.
When you see the likes of Fall Guys and Fortnite doing well, and you think this has got a space, definitely.
I think the issue that I've got, right, is that the games that I want brought back don't exist, because I just want the new versions of some games. But if I had to bring one back, it would probably be... See, it's not really the same.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? I don't know if this works for games.
Probably like a more fleshed out next gen version of something like,
can I guess?
Turok or
close. I was going to say Red Faction.
No, like Turok or like Pokemon Coliseum or something like that, where it's like it would have like co-op and stuff, but then you'd also be able to like expand on the kind of base things that were there. Like, just because you know me, I like a single player story driven game, but the other really genre that's tied top for me is like co-op games where you can, it's like I could go on the new Coliseum, the Pokemon Coliseum, and have like mass starters, and we could either team up or I could like duel you and that kind of stuff or whatever. So something like that would be cool.
That's
but
fair.
I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a really tough one.
That's a toughie. So the next big question for us: what do you think the next big technological advance will be? / what would you like it to be?
I think we're probably very close to quantum computing.
Oh. How close would you say? Do you think that's like a 5-year, 10-year or 50-year thing?
So, like, I would say when we're talking about like the next big technological advancement, it's obviously going to be like something that's not going to be like 6 months or 12 months to it, if you know what I mean.
No, until it's mainstream, so you would say maybe like a few years anyway.
Well, and I know that there's already like there's already like people who have announced that they've got like developments that have recently like launched and all that kind of stuff. So because I looked into it before I came like on here and to like, discuss it. So the basically things I found out, right, was that there's a place called the National Quantum Information Science Research Center, and they announced that the US Department of Energy had that like they were announced by them, right? And the latest development in the recently launched National Quantum Initiative Act was basically like 625 million in funding over 5 years for quantum computing, essentially.
It's not the kind of thing you could go into cyberpower and pay for then.
No, but that's like, and then it's like there's always going to be a need for like quantum computers and stuff. Like, like I think at this point there are small scale quantum computers that are operational, and I think that probably like NASA and shit have them rather than anybody else. But I just feel like that would be the next level, because with quantum computing comes like a whole nother iteration of like life, I would say, because quantum computing would make things possible that aren't possible at the present moment. So,
can I ask about a dumb question? Could you tell us what quantum computing is?
Well,
have I put you on the spot there?
No. So,
sorry.
I would say if I'm going through like, right, let me try and do like a dumbed down version of it, right? So, basically, all computers rely on like an ability to store and then manipulate information, which is not a lot of the time is things like binary and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So obviously that's something that's the way it works, and that's it. So quantum computing changes that because they want to leverage like the quantum mechanical side of things and try and use like things like chemistry and all that kind of shit to make like quantum fundamentals, which then in turn will have like almost a kind of like no life its own. I want to say life its own, but it's more like you could have something that would power almost anything in your house, and is capable of things that probably we can't really comprehend at this point in time. Like, it minimises like energy loss. You could have like cryogenic isolators in order for signals. You could have quantum amplifiers. You could have mixing chambers, all in this one quantum computer. But all of these things are not just technology. It's like chemistry and science and that kind of stuff as well. So the limitations of a quantum computer are kind of dependent on what the limitations of the person or the people that build it is, which I
really
like.
Starts to blur the lines between disciplines when you're saying it's like computing's almost moving into the sciences and combining with it, if you like.
It's just it's nuts because obviously for computers and science to move forward, then essentially they need to join for that.
They're reliant on one another, aren't they? Really?
And that's like if you look at like if you go and like look and be like quantum computing in depth, right? You'll find out like there's different models of quantum computers or like quantum computing systems and stuff. You've got like circuit models, Turing machine, like all that kind of stuff. There's all like a one-way quantum computer and stuff like that. But it's like the most widely like used is probably like a quantum circuit. But even those at this point in time exist, but are in their very early stages and are absolutely nowhere near the complexity as what they possibly will be. Because then you would have things like quantum algorithms, which don't really exist in terms of computer science at this point in time, unless you're at the extreme end of the scale. But they could be used for like normal life, depending on like what stage we get to and how quick. So I think that quantum computing would be my answer. That's going to be the next big thing.
I like that. For me, It's one of two things, but it's in the same field. This is my other automobile answer. It's there's either going to be a change in materials used for batteries for electric vehicles. There has to be. Simply, there's not enough of the materials and minerals that we're using at the moment. And I'm seeing firsthand the growth in the amount of chargers and the amount of EVs registered on the road, and it's just going up exponentially. And when you're looking at cities, the infrastructure just can't cope with it at the moment. That being said, it's possible to adjust it. It's a huge amount of work, and we'll have to rip up every single road and street in Scotland, in the UK actually.
Mm-hmm.
However, if the materials for batteries don't change, I think hydrogen cars are going to be the next big thing. Hydrogen technology is a little bit behind EV. It's not as high profile, but by Christ, it's a hell of a lot more abundant than the materials for batteries. You could get hydrogen so easy. I think there's a hydrogen refueling station in Scotland. I think it's either in Fife or Dundee.
I heard, I don't know if this is still true to this day, it's a while ago that I read this, but basically the issue that they're having with hydrogen fueled things at the present moment isn't the technology to like use it, but more the technology to store it
and transport it. Yeah.
Aye, and that's like the big hurdle that they're having, because everyone knows what happens when you put hydrogen inside a blimp, for example. So they're saying like it is like really, really good, but that's when you get people like Elon Musk, and even when he's like, I wouldn't go hydrogen just yet, and you're like, listen, mate, like, you're not doing it, I'm not doing it.
That's the guy who was talking about going to the fucking Mars.
Exactly, because I know, like, obviously Tesla don't say what their batteries are, if you know what I mean. Like, they'll say they'll talk about their batteries, but obviously, like, I remember they had like a battery day event that somehow I ended up watching, and it was like 5 times as much energy. You got 16% more range, you got 6 times more power, all that kind of stuff, and it was like, cool, so if you can do that, that's minted. But at the same time, like, we need to get to a point where whatever you're doing for your batteries, it can't just work for Tesla. Like,
yeah, they should be doing what Volvo done with the 3-point seatbelt, just completely put it out there, let everyone use it, make it, I can't remember the word, non-proprietary, or didn't put a patent on it, make sure everyone can use it, because it's for the benefit of the world, really. But,
and it's kind of like I don't know if you've ever heard about the grid that Tesla have got, and I think it's in Australia. I'll need to double check. In fact, I'm actually going to check right now.
Is it the small kind of test base they've got?
Tesla grid Australia.
They're a fascinating company, to be fair.
Aye, so basically, right, so it's called the Hornsdale Power Reserve. Aye, right, Hornsdale Power Reserve, and the power reserve that they had, Tesla came in and went, we can make that power reserve look like a bitch, and they were like, all right, so they done it, and they basically broke every record possible for when that battery first went into work, like in this like Hornsdale Power Reserve battery place, and they basically say, like, this is like next level. So if we can get to that point and use the same kind of stuff that they're using there in things like car batteries, maybe that would work.
Yeah,
I've always thought, surely if you can manage to get solar power to a point where it would be much more efficient, then solar power would maybe be the answer.
I can't believe how relevant this is now, because I was thinking, should I mention it? I thought, nah, because it's probably not the same scale. There's a car park, I'll tell you where it is after this, that's getting worked on, project that some colleagues of mine are doing, and basically what they're doing is it's a car park, but they're putting in what they're calling solar canopies. So it's canopies above all the car park. It's an open air car park, but these canopies, and they're all solar panels on top, and those power the chargers. The storage for the chargers are huge banks of Tesla batteries hidden and caged away at the side. So there you go, it's a smaller scale version, but I know of another few in Scotland already. So it's quite interesting that on a smaller scale, those are starting to pop up.
Because I know that, like, Japan, obviously Japan, because Japan's like the most forward-thinking country ever. Yeah. But they have mental things. So basically, like, they'll have like a road, and instead of building it as just like a road that's got left lane and right lane, a lot of the roads that they started building, especially like the main roads, they basically made them wider, put a concrete kind of like area in the middle which people could obviously cross onto safely, but then at the same time along all of the lampposts and anything that was there, and they built these big like almost like metal kind of like frames that runs right along the middle, which you like obviously you can go through them and stuff, but and on top of them is solar panels, and that's basically what like that's what powers all like the street lights and everything like that that's there. So like things like that, whereas sometimes I think to myself, if you have the capability to do it and you have the forward thinking to do it, then
It's
like
possible.
obviously that's like going to be something that's possible. People might not think it's possible because they don't have it around them, but then you look at places that do and you think to yourself, well, why don't we? So yeah.
I always think with technology, I mean, a lot of people have the approach of, or a lot of organisations have the approach, well, no one's done it yet, it can't be done, or if a few people have done it, they need proof of concept. There's something to be said for being the first one to do something and take that leap and, be the sort of beacon. Everyone looks to you for the blueprint. I think that's a pretty cool position to be in.
Also, right, this is another thing, but I feel like someone in Japan basically has thought to themselves, listen, how about we turn in a 5,000 IQ idea? And they were like, right, hit me with it, right? So, if you build a massive, massive, massive solar energy farm, it's going to take up a lot of space. And land is like real estate. You're going to need to pay a premium price for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what's free? Water. Do you know what's free to do?
Yeah.
Build on water. So they were like, let's make floating ones. And they've done it, and they're doing it, and it's crazy. There's just massive parts in the water around Japan that have these floating solar energy farms, and it looks wild.
I mean, it does sort of change the chemistry below the water, and obviously you won't get as much growth. But I've seen them do something similar. They had two membranes, and in between they grew algae. So obviously you'll know algae from here when there's a lot of nutrients going into a body of water. You can get blue and green algae, which is like poisonous to humans and pets and stuff. That being said, certain countries trapped them in this membrane and grew them on the water deliberately. And then I think they use it for an oil of some kind. That you can basically press oil out of it. But I thought that was a pretty cool way of farming it, I suppose.
But
get use of it.
I know that when Japan done some of their floating ones, what they were doing is that like, so they would build like a surround and then build basically down with concrete and stuff, so that it was affecting the water that they were on top of, but not the water like apart from it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it was enclosed.
So it obviously still have an effect on the water that was surrounding it, but nothing to the standard that it was. And then they also then built like flotation devices, angled them, and then put like again like more like barriers and stuff on places like that. And then they thought to themselves, well, instead of doing it in like the oceans and stuff, let's try and do it where maybe in like a harbour we'll build like a big concrete like swimming pool, and basically is the best way to describe it. It's a huge concrete swimming pool, and then just put solar panels in that, and then we'll use it like that, because that is the easiest way to do it, 100%.
Oh, sure, for sure. My next question here, I'm going to scrap the last question because I've came up with a quick fire question round for you. I'll tell you how I came up with it in a minute, but this should be a fairly quick one for us. What do you do to get rid of stress? Now, I wish Craig was here, because at some point in the last 2 months we've all been stressed beyond belief at something or another. Bundy, how do you get rid of stress, or how do you deal with stress?
I cook. I know that sounds really weird, but
I like it. It's not what I expected.
So there's nothing that I enjoy or stresses me out more, and I enjoy as much as like jumping into the kitchen, and then just like I'll usually have my like earpods in. I will have like some sort of music playing, and then I'll just think like maybe look up a recipe or make something up just off the top of my head. And it doesn't matter if it doesn't work, because then I can like that actually sometimes makes me think, oh, do you know what? Like I wonder why that didn't work. Let me try it again. So stuff like that where it's like fun for me to like make something that I'm then going to enjoy because I then get to eat it, which is obviously great. But at the same time, I would also say that the other pleasure I get from it is when someone else eats it and enjoys it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that for me is definitely like a good thing because
Remember when you made Craig's lunch that day?
it was stuff like that, exactly like that.
I remember
like,
him saying, "This is incredible. You've no idea how good this is."
so I'm just after somebody enjoying it. That's what I'm into. Like
He's a feeder.
if I make it and you like it, then fantastic. If you didn't, that's fine as well. But it's like I just feel like if I go proper into it, like the loser that I am, I feel like there's chefs out there who are talented beyond people's wildest imaginations because they can recreate something and have it make you experience memories. They can have it make you experience sensations that you didn't realize that you could have. That like they can tell like a story with the food. And like if you've ever get the chance to watch The Final Table on Netflix, season 1 has this guy called Charles on it, and he I believe he's French, and he always when he puts up a dish, he'll be like, so it's called like an ode to classique and stuff like that. So it's like he talks about how it's like just like the classic dish that you would normally make, but instead of using all the prime ingredients, he's used all the bits you would have thrown away. So like, which is kind of like, and he's like, because I think, and then he says that because I feel like we need to do that more because waste and like all that kind of stuff. And so he's tackling and highlighting real world problems and stuff like that through cooking.
That's attractive to do.
Exactly. So I just think there's people with minds out there that are wild, and when you see stuff like that, and then just get to like experience it and taste it, and think to yourself, how on earth does this work? Like, this is nuts. That's my big one.
I want to make sure that you're not underselling yourself here. When we were watching the boxing last week, I think it was last week, and we were just sitting around watching the TV. In between the rounds, Bundy disappears. Then he comes back. Try this. Roasted cheese. Now, when you're talking about great minds, like big brain plays when it comes to food, roasted cheese, but instead of using slices of cheese or grated cheese, he's used spreadable cheese. This was impressive.
It sounds disgusting, but it's the opposite.
I urge that you try it, but my only thing would be put it on thinner than you think. And
yes.
You're onto a banger. It's a weird sensation. It's not the same texture as you would expect. It's different, but the taste is good. Black pepper 100%. On it, I'm buying. For me to get rid of stress or to deal with it, I have to have a routine or a plan, and I have to have everything like sort of all scheduled out.
Mm-hmm.
I like to have stuff written down or typed in a document so that I don't need to memorise it. I get stressed if I know I need to remember all these different things. It has to be down somewhere. And
I can picture that.
That's how I sort of cope with it. But the essential thing to get rid of it for me is make sure I've obviously got everything scheduled and written down. I need to get some sleep every day, like decent amount of sleep. I need to get some exercise every day, and I have to have at least a wee drop time for relaxing and having fun every day, whether that's talking to friends, watching TV, playing the Xbox, whatever. I need to do something like that as well. If I do those 4 things, that tends to keep me quite balanced. When one of them starts to go, gradually I'll fade. And if there's one thing that stresses me out more than anything in the world, it's fucking cooking. It is bizarre. I get so stressed in the kitchen, it is unreal.
So I'm literally the exact opposite.
And that's bizarre, isn't it? I was surprised that you said it. So
what's interesting, right, is that I would have said you probably are one of the people who are probably better prepared to be a cook, right? Mm-hmm. Because how you think about like having to have a plan and stuff like that, like exactly how I think about having to go in and cook. I think to myself, right, we are going to make pasta with a spinach sauce. So we're going to need pasta that's this much. We're going to have spaghetti, or we're going to have whatever kind, right? We're then going to have spinach, which we're going to need to make as like the base sauce. So we're going to need olive oil, we're going to need salt, we're going to need pepper, we're going to need like a wee bit basil. We might chuck some thyme or some rosemary in there. We're then going to need parmesan to go in there as well, just to kind of thicken up, richen up, and that kind of stuff. We're going to need a food processor. And I'm thinking to myself, right, here's all these things, and then you lay them all out, or like I lay them all out, or I get it all ready. It's all in front of me, and I'm like, cool. Now we need some chili and some garlic. Let's get them at the fridge, and we're doing that like piece by piece. So you're kind of starting it, so you're planning it. Once your plan's in place, e.g., everything's in front of you, you tackle stage A of plan A, or plan A of stage 1 or whatever, and it's like chop the chilies, chop the garlic, cool, done. Wash the spinach, cool, done. Do this, and it's literally, and because it's really really quick in order to do these things, it's very fulfilling for me because I'm like done. So it's like loads of wee like achievement milestones, goals, whatever you want to call them. And then when it comes together and you see your plan come to fruition and come onto then a plate, and then you can then enjoy it, it's like having an Excel sheet that you can eat.
Well, I'll tell you the trouble with it, and I think I definitely spoke to someone about it. I think it might have been Craig. Now it's coming to my memory. That methodical approach appeals to me a lot. It's how vague it can be. So, for example, cooking these kind of, for example, cooking a meat. How long until it's done? Right. Give me an exact amount of minutes. So steak, I can cook steak quite happily because it's a certain amount of minutes on each side. Fine. How long does the butter go into this pan for until it's browned? Right. How brown does it go? Things like that do my fucking head in. I need exact instructions, which I think is why I like making drinks better. And I spoke to Craig about this when my girlfriend has her, girls' nights and friends, and she's like, oh, we'll make cocktails for New Year and that. I'm like, no problem, I'm on it. There's an exact amount of each ingredient. There's an exact amount, or exact way you need to do it. There's certain order to it, and it's exact. There's no vague terms that you have to brown this. It doesn't say what extent you have to brown it. You have to whisk it until it's a whatever consistency. There's no...
See,
it has to be an exact number for me, I think.
Like I get that as well, because when somebody says it's, and I honestly think it's the person's who is giving you those instructions, it's their fault for it, right? Because if I was to say to you, right, listen, I want you to cook a steak, I want it medium rare, and I want you to have the skillet to be hot but not like too hot, right? That already, what is hot but not too hot, right?
I know.
And I'm like, right, so you've given me an instruction there, and I don't know what hot but not too hot is, so I need you to tell me,
hot,
right?
But no too hot that you can't lift it. I would think, fine, I'll heat it up, and then as soon as it's cool enough, I'll lift it, and that'll be the time to go for it.
Exactly. So what I would then say instead, right, is I would look and be like, cool, so I would be like, what is your cooker? Is it a gas? Is it electric? Gas, right, cool, no worries. And how many settings has it got? It's got 6 settings, right, cool. So you're going to want to put it at 4.5. Nice one, right? So that 4.5, that means that it'll be the same amount of minutes, right, that you would usually do, or if for any reason there needs to be an adjustment, you then put it to 5 or to 4.
Yeah.
Because that 4.5 is like a happy medium almost. And then when I say to you that I want you to brown the butter, I don't know why MD wants any brown butter at all, because all you do is fire that, and you should be basting constantly on a steak. You watch any Gordon Ramsay steak videos, any of them at all, I guarantee you, he bastes the steak as it cooks. He'll tilt the pan, he'll tilt the skillet, tilt the cast iron, whatever, and he'll just start spooning the butter and the rosemary that's in the butter onto the steak constantly, because not only does it then give it that flavour, but it also helps to cook the other side of the steak that's not facing down and give it that better crisp and seal and everything. So it's like, if I was to tell you what to do, I'd be giving you those instructions, because now you're not worried about the butter browning. Now you're not giving a shit. Now you're just enjoying that base and being like,
I think you're right. Generally, it'll be the person giving the instructions. I think it's just 100%. That in the field of cooking, there are terms that are just generally accepted, and it's probably something that a novice like me doesn't get.
It's like, use about a cup of milk.
What size is your fucking cup?
about is what, over, under? Just a cup. Use 1 cup of milk. Cool. And then if you really are going to be doing a cooking program, it would be use a 1 cup measurement of milk or something like that, right? And I would then, if I needed to, go on and Google. Here we go. What is a cup measurement? Oh, okay. So in milliliters, a cup measurement is 236.588 milliliters.
Why not say that?
That's great. So what I'll do, right, is instead of going about a cup, right, I'll say 250 mil. Because I know that it's, even though it's exactly 236, it's 250 mil. So I'll say 250 mil. Because do you know what?
Oh, I'll tell you a worse one now, I think it. Right, say the ingredients, blah, blah, spoonful of sugar, fine. And then later on it's maybe a mounded spoonful. I'm thinking, well, the one before wasn't mounded, is it meant to be perfectly fucking level with the spoon? And when it's mounded, I'm getting every fucking grain I can fit on that one. Like, I'm making that a mountain on top of the spoon. Sorry, we could moan about this all day. We'll cut to the next string because I'm a bit wary of the time here. But I'm glad we agree on that. How do we get rid of stress, and how the fuck do we get stressed at cooking? So I wanted to do this wee round. I'll tell you where I stole the idea from. It was the What's Good podcast. So you know Simon for the Sidemen and Randolph, you know, he's got his Pokemon channel. They do a section called What's Good, and so they'll mention something, a topic, a thing, and they'll see if the guest thinks it's good. And if they do, they'll maybe give a sentence to explain why it's good or why it's not. I'm going to do that with our very own Bundy. Okay.
Oh, okay. Right, so explain it to me again, what are the rules?
So I'm going to say a thing or a concept, or I'm going to tell you, say something, and then you need to give me a sentence as to why you or you have to say if it's good or bad, and you have to then tell me in roughly a sentence why it's good or why it's bad.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Ready? I've got to start with the footwear. Flip-flops, but with the post that goes next to your big toe.
Bad.
Why?
Because it's no secure enough on your foot. The slightest be too much G-force and that thing's coming off.
Exactly. You're better with the one where the strap goes right over your foot.
Exactly. And then the fact that if for any reason someone actually enjoys wearing what we call flip-flops, Americans, I know we have American listeners, some of you might call them thongs, understand that's definitely not a thong to us. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Have you ever worn a thong?
But anyway, I don't get it. And it's maybe because we don't have like pools and stuff like that. But do you know what else really, really gets to me? Why it's so bad? When you're walking, stop it. It's a very loud noise. I can hear it, and it's pissing me off.
Is that sound that it sounds like someone's having sex next to you when you're walking?
Pretty much.
Or if you're running.
You can't run in them anyway, so it doesn't matter.
That's a fair point. You kind of have to do that power walk shuffle thing that you do and give it the enthusiastic hips. Right, sorry, we went on too long for that one. Next one. I was going to say cocktails, but I'm going to be specific. A bramble.
Oh, good. Why? Good. It gets you drunk quick. Tastes nice. Love it.
Nice and easy. Alright. Pint of ice cold dry cider. Hard cider.
Good. The harder the cider, the harder
Right, we'll move on to the next one. Sweet potato fries.
Oh, bad.
What?
Bad.
Why?
I like them, but there's one potato and it's king. The king of potato is just normal potato.
That's fair. This one is a multiple choice, so it's one or the other. Console gaming or PC gaming? Sounds like a can
PC
just
gaming.
open. What?
Yep.
PC gaming?
PC gaming.
I'm going to ask you why. Fucking prick. Anyway, so moving on. Same again. Apple or Android?
Android.
Why?
Way more flexibility in terms of what you can do. Like 100% more flexibility. It's just
cheaper.
no lockdown. Yeah, and generally cheaper, yep.
There you go. Wearing socks to bed.
Oh, bad, bad. If you do that, then turn yourself into the police right this very moment. There's no physical way that can be good for your feet to sweat in those covers and just stagnate that sweat onto those socks, which are then wet and touching your feet. Trench foot is a thing, and you're going to end up with it.
All right, let me explain this one. See if I get really drunk and I know I'm going to get really hungover. I get this thing when I'm hungover where my feet get freezing cold, like I'm shivering and I can't get a heat in them. They're like ice cold the whole day. And then when I'm lying in bed hungover, if she moves me or wobbles over me, it makes me feel so ill. It's unreal. So what I do is two things. I put socks on. You're going to be horrified. One time I put snowboarding socks on, which pretty much come up to my knees, big woolly ones, because I felt that I knew I was going to be hungover. So I came in drunk, put these big socks on, and then climbed into bed. She hates the feeling of socks in bed, so she doesn't even come near my side. It's perfect. I've got the ultimate combination there. Anyway, we'll move on to the next one. Wireless Xbox headphones.
Wired or wireless?
Wireless. What do you think of wireless ones?
Wireless. Good.
Good?
Yep, because they're easier than wired.
And the battery life now is getting to almost the level of a day, and you can plug them in and use them wired. That's kind of what I was thinking. Walker's Baked Crisps. That's Lay's if you're American.
It depends on the flavour. I don't like anything but the ready salted ones.
Right, we'll go ready salted.
Oh, great, fantastic. Love them.
Okay. Paprika Pringles.
Probably the best Pringles flavour out there, apart from salt and pepper.
Really? We should do a Pringles tier list. That's what we should do.
We should do.
Anyway, I agree. That's probably the best flavour. So this is another multiple choice. If you were going to your work, do you have like a satchel bag, like Indiana Jones, or do you have a backpack?
I have a backpack because I feel that they are easier to carry around.
Even if you've got a laptop?
Yep.
Wait.
So I would also put a caveat on there that my backpack has an actual laptop bit in it. So that
right.
It's got a compartment that you put the laptop into and it doesn't move, basically.
See, I've damaged a laptop by having it in a backpack and then sitting down with said backpack, whereas the satchel bag, it's always at my side. I'm kind of aware of it. That's fine. Okay. Next thing. Now, it's hard to explain. An electric toothbrush where it spins and rotates, or one of the electric toothbrushes that just vibrates.
Spins and rotates because you should always brush your teeth in a circular motion because it's better for your overall oral health than just vibrating or brushing straight.
I like that. Which colour of lightsaber? Blue, green or red?
Green because Qui-Gon.
Right. Alright, I'll give you that. I'm saying blue because Obi-Wan, but we'll leave it at that. One last one, because it's something I've had to bring into my life recently. Slippers.
Bad.
What? You've got cool Darth Vader ones.
But do you know what my issue is, right? My feet are currently in slippers as we speak, right? And I wish I had socks on because they're sweating too much. They're too warm.
Do you not use both? Do you put socks on and then put slippers on?
No. Just feet, and because then it'd be too warm. But now it's too cold. So socks are just the medium. Do you
use the slide-on slippers or like the ones that go right over your feet?
I have both. I have the ones that are right over my feet at this very moment.
Like it. Well, there you go. If you didn't know much about Bundy, now you do. Thanks everyone for listening. I'm aware that was a bit of a filler episode covering a lot of the smaller topics. We have got at least 3 bangers in the pipeline. Now, we've got one that involves a sport, one potentially around esports, and one potentially around a TV series which melted our brains last week. Unbelievable. We are working on a few other ideas going forward, but we have an idea for a live one. Not saying we're stealing it for YouTube, but it would be something that would work well for YouTube and Twitch, so that's something that will require a bit more planning from the 3 of us, and it's something we would definitely want all 3 of us involved with. But keep an eye out for that. Are you doing any streaming these days? Because I'm aware we've all kind of fell away from it a bit.
I will be once life goes back to normal, but at the moment, no.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty similar. I'm kind of hoping that in the next month or so I'll get back to it, seeing as I've got new artwork done by my main man Bundy, new logo and everything, so we'll get used to that. We'll wrap it up there. We'll be able to catch everyone next week. I'm not sure which of the episodes it'll be, but it will be one of the banger episodes that is up next week. Oh wait, Christmas. Shit. Oh, will it?
It'll actually be...
Oh, now, we might not be able to do an episode next week.
We'll find out, because...
We'll talk about this behind the scenes, but if next episode is on the 28th or the 4th.
Aye. 28th or the 4th, definitely.
And it will be a good one, we can assure you that.
Yes.
Okay, thanks for listening, folks. Catch you next week. Cheers.
Bye.
Would you rather give the first 90% of a blowjob or the last 10% of a blowjob?
Jesus Christ. Wow. Last 10 and then I start dodging.